What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another brand new installment of Renegades Reviews, exclusively here, as always, on the Casa D18 Studios channel. I, of course, am your host, the Renegade JJ Williams, and today I'm going to be discussing from 2010, The Expendables, starring Sylvester Stallone, Jason Statham, Jet Li, Dolph Lundgren, Randy Couture, Terry Crews, Eric Roberts, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Mickey Rourke, Bruce Willis, and Arnold Schwarzenegger. What's going on, everybody? Thank you for joining me here once again on another brand new installment of Renegades Reviews. We're here today doing trilogies this month, as we have been. We're about to kick off yet another trilogy. This one, as I said at the top of the show, The Expendables. And let's get right down to it, shall we? Our film opens and the team, the Expendables, are being deployed to the Gulf of Aden, which runs between Yemen and Somalia and connects to the Red Sea. Their mission is to save hostages on a vessel from Somali pirates. Our heroic team consists of Barney Ross, the leader, blade specialist Lee Christmas, martial arts expert Yin Yang, military vet Gunnar Jensen, weapons specialist Hale Caesar, and demolitions expert Toll Road. Right there, I'm going to stop. Some of these names are so cheese-tastic, so cliche, it could only be a testosterone-filled action flick. Like, seriously, Yin Yang, Toll Road, Hail Caesar. Seriously, I know that's part of the joke with these movies, but I don't know. Like, sometimes you just sit there scratching your head. But I digress. So Gunnar ends up instigating a firefight, which causes numerous casualties for the pirates. However, when Gunnar attempts to hang a pirate, Barney feels that he's gone too far. Yin comes in and he successfully prevents the unnecessary hanging, and as punishment, Barney dismisses Gunnar from the team. Upon their return to their home in New Orleans, Barney meets up with tattoo artist Tool, while Lee goes to visit his girlfriend, Lacey, only to discover that she has left him for another man. Barney gets called to meet Mr. Church, and upon arrival, Barney finds his rival, Trench Masseur, there as well, talking to Mr. Church. And this scene right here, I'm going to just cut off again real quick. This scene is iconic because it was the first time in film history that you had Sylvester Stallone, Barney Ross, Bruce Willis, Mr. Church, and Arnold Schwarzenegger, Trench Masseur, in a film sharing a scene together. The three primary owners of the former Planet Hollywood franchise in a film together had never been done before, believe it or not. So this moment was like 20 years in the making. And if for no other reason, should be viewed for this iconic scene right here. Now, Mr. Church offers a mission to overthrow General Garza of Valina, which is an island in the Gulf of Mexico. And Trench declines the contract because he's got other stuff that he's doing. And Barney is hesitant about it, but he essentially agrees to go ahead and do it. Barney and Lee fly to Valina for an underground reconnaissance mission, as well as to meet up with their contact, who is a woman named Sandra. And as they try to gather intel, Barney and Lee are discovered. They unearth the fact that James Monroe, an ex-CIA officer, is the one pulling the strings, keeping Garza in power by using Garza as a figurehead for Monroe's own profiteering operations. It's also discovered that their contact, Sandra, is Garza's daughter. Dun, dun, dun. Barney decides to abort the mission, and he tries to get Sandra to come with him because over the time, he's kind of bonded with her and have her come with him and Lee. But she refuses to leave her hometown of Valina. While all this is starting to go down, Gunner approaches Monroe and offers to help after being dishonorably discharged by Barney. So you've got Gunner, who's supposed to be a member of the Expendables team with Barney, turning heel here and wanting to join Monroe. And Garza ends up getting mad when Monroe proceeds to torture Sandra via waterboarding an attempt to garner information from her. So all these little things start to cause a little bit of dissension within the bad guys. Barney and Lee return back home, and Lee discovers that Lacey has been physically abused by her new man. Proceeds to go to the basketball courts where he's playing ball with his friends, Lacey on the back of his motorcycle, and he confronts her boyfriend. And when he starts to get snotty with Lee, Lee proceeds to beat him and his friends up, which ends up exposing what Lee does for a living, because up till now, Lacey hasn't really known what Lee did. Ross and the group discover that Church is a CIA operative and that his true target isn't Garza, it's Monroe. Monroe has gone rogue and joined forces with Garza in order to keep the drug money that helps fund the CIA to himself. And Barney's team was recruited because the CIA can't afford a mission to kill one of their own because of the bad publicity it would bring upon the CIA. Barney goes and visits Toole again, and he starts to unload his feelings about the mission and what he thinks and what's going on in the brain of his. Toole confesses to Barney about a time that he let a woman commit suicide instead of saving her and stopping her. Barney hears all this and he's motivated to return to Valina to save Sandra alone. Yen won't allow that to happen, though. He says that he's going to accompany Barney come hell or high water. Yen is going with him. Gunner and some hired men begin to pursue Barney and Yen on the road, which ends at an abandoned warehouse. Gunner and Yen engage in a second fight after the one where Yen had to stop Gunner from hanging the Somali pirate. And when Gunner attempts to impale Yen, Barney shoots Gunner. Gunner apologizes to Barney, begins to make amends with him. Hey man, I didn't want to turn. I felt like I needed to, do what I needed to do. So he apologizes, he makes amends, and he gives Barney the layout of Garza's palace in an attempt to try to redeem himself and help Barney in case he dies. He wants to at least die with a clear conscience. Barney and Yen board the plane, and Barney finds the rest of the team there waiting. Just like Yen, the team's not going to let him do it alone. They're there with him. They have his back. When they infiltrate Garza's palace, Garza has his soldiers' faces painted, thinking that Monroe has hired the Expendables to kill them. Barney's team plants explosives throughout the palace. However, as Barney attempts to save Sandra, he's captured by Monroe's henchmen. The team saves Barney and kills one of Monroe's henchmen called the Brit. But the team gets pinned down by Garza's men as Barney fights Dan Payne, Monroe's right-hand man. Garza eventually stands up to Monroe, ordering out of Valina and demanding his money back. As Garza readies his men to take on the Americans, Monroe kills him, and he makes an escape with Payne and Sandra. Garza's men open fire against our heroes as they fight through the palace, detonating the explosives and destroying the compound. Toll ends up killing Payne, burning him alive, as Barney and Hale manage to destroy the helicopter before Monroe can escape. Barney and Lee catch up to Monroe, kill him, and save Sandra. Now, in order to help restore Valena, Barney gives his mission reward to Sandra. The money that the CIA was going to pay him for doing the mission, Barney gives his cut to Sandra. Rebuild, reconstruct, renew your city. As our film draws to its conclusion, we go home and celebrate at Tool's tattoo parlor with Gunnar there, recovering, rehabbing, reinstated to the team, redeemed. And Gunnar, Tool, and Lee engage in a game of knife throwing. And as Lee mocks Tool with a poem, he throws a bullseye shot from outside of the tattoo parlor. This film, I've seen The Expendables before, and I enjoyed it just as much this time as I did the first time I saw it. Like I said, the whole Planet Hollywood scene, if you will, of Schwarzenegger, Stallone, and Willis together, history making, iconic, worth watching just for that scene alone. Arnold Schwarzenegger was still the governor of California when this film was made, which is why his part was as brief as it was. His role would become expanded with the sequel, Expendables 2, which would come 2 years later. Schwarzenegger's term as governor ended in 2011. So pretty much as soon as he was free, he began work on the sequel for this with a more expanded role, more depth to his character. But this is just a really fun, all-star action film. Schwarzenegger, Jason Statham, you've got Jet Li, you've got Terry Crews, who I didn't really think of much as like action hero prior to this film, because prior to this film, the only real frame of reference I had for him was as the Heavy in Friday After Next, which I'll be getting to in a few days when I cover the Friday trilogy over April 19th, 20th, and 21st. But his role as Damon in Friday After Next was the only real exposure I had of Terry Crews. Randy Couture, UFC fighter, makes sense. Dolph Lundgren, again, makes sense. But just such a solid cast. And then Mickey Rourke as Tool, Bruce Willis as Mr. Church, Trench Masseur, Schwarzenegger, Stone Cold Steve Austin appearing in this one of his first major roles. And granted, he was minor, but he was the right-hand man there for Monroe. Very, very solid casting. Very, very fun action film. When it comes to my rating on the Expendables, I'm going to give it the original one. No, I'm not going to do 3.5. I'm going to give it 4 out of 5 stars. I was really going back and forth between 3.5 out of 4 and 4 out of 5. But I think I'm going to go with 4 stars just because it was so fun, so action-packed. Stallone directed this one as well. You know, for all 3 of these, he is very heavily involved in the screenplay and the story, directed this one, is very involved in the casting and the recruiting of all the action heroes over the years to bring them into the movies. They only get bigger from here as far as the cast goes. You know, we retain the core 6, but just bigger and bigger names keep popping up because with sequels, you've got to get bigger and better, bigger and better. The 4 stars out of 5 for the original Expendables. Let's get out there on social media, try to get those hashtags trending. Hashtag Casa D18 Studios, hashtag Renegades Reviews, hashtag Renegade Returns, and of course the ever popular hashtag Shenanigans. We interrupt this episode of Renegades Reviews for an important announcement about
merchandising.
Merchandising? What's that?
Merchandising. Come, I'll show you. Merchandising, merchandising, where the real money's made.
Make sure you go over to teespring.com/stores/Jeff Meacham Network for all the t-shirts you see here from the West Coast professor, Jeff Meacham himself. You can get shirts for the Jeff Meacham Network, Talk Wrestling, as well as the red and gold Meachamania shirts. And while you're there, don't forget to get your shirts of the Casa D18 Studios Brotherhood, the Dads on Wrestling shirt, the Renegade JJ Williams, Statboy Sports Bar, and the hashtag StatBoyApproved shirt. Make sure you go over to teespring.com/stores/Jeff Meacham Network and score your shirts today. Make sure you do what that commercial just told you. Go to teespring.com/stores/Jeff Meacham Network. Score you your official merchandise of the Jeff Meacham Network, your Meachamania shirts, Talk Wrestling, your Jeff Meacham Network logo shirts. Get you your official shirts for the Casa D18 Studios Brotherhood, your Renegade JJ Williams shirt, Dad's Not Always on Wrestling, Statboy Sports Bar, and so much more. Tomorrow, right here on the Casa D18 Studios, when I'll be back with another brand new installment of Renegades Reviews. Make sure you join me as I discuss the sequel to The Expendables, 2012's The Expendables 2. Like I said, we retain our core 6, Sylvester Stallone, Jason Statham, Jet Li, Dolph Lundgren, Terry Crews, Randy Couture, Bruce Willis and Arnold Schwarzenegger are back. And then we add Chuck Norris, Liam Hemsworth, and Jean-Claude Van Damme to the fold. Like I said, man, bigger and better, bigger and better. Should be a really, really another fun one to cover. Thank you guys for tuning in. All you guys that have been leaving comments over here during the live stream, greatly appreciate it. Those of you that are watching on demand, make sure you leave your comments in the comment box below. I will reply to you, as I always do. Thank you again for joining me. I appreciate each and every one of you. And until tomorrow, I will see you guys next time.